You're listening to Thunder and Lightning on SuperTalk Mississippi, covering Mississippi State sports like nobody else. With Sports Talk Mississippi's Brian Hadad and Robbie Faulk of On3 Sports. Now get ready for Thunder and Lightning.
This is Thunder and Lightning here on SuperTalk Mississippi. Brian Hadad and Robbie Faulk here with you on a Friday morning. Thanks for starting the weekend with us here at supertalk.fm or wherever it is that you get podcasts from. We appreciate all you guys out there, our great listeners, especially our servicemen and women out there taking care of us. We want to thank our sponsors over at Strange Brew Coffee House and Churn and Spoon Ice Cream. Start your day the right way with a trip to the drive-thru over at Strange Brew Coffee House here in Starkville or at Brupolo over in Tupelo. Be a little weird, Robbie, if Brupolo was in Oklahoma.
That would be a little weird because that would be normally a totally different state.
But it's in
Oklahoma,
Mississippi. Yeah. I got to know where that is. It's in Carroll County.
Well, your wife should know something about that.
She should. I mean, I'm going to have to ask her. I've never heard of it, though.
I bet she knows where Oklahoma, Mississippi is.
I would be willing to bet money that you're correct on that one. Wherever you are in our great state, if you can, or any other state, you can enjoy Strange Brew Coffee each and every morning. It's just a click away at strangebrewcoffeehouse.com. The Mississippi Beef Council wants to remind you that beef, it is what's for dinner. Beef was what was for dinner tonight for me. I made bacon cheeseburger smash tacos.
Ooh,
really good, really good.
That was I'm almost guaranteeing you that came from an inspiration from Chad Dawkins the other day.
And he is the taco master out there at the Tortilla Grill.
He had the big
he had those. Yeah, so I was along those lines. So, you're not wrong. Yeah, it's been playing in my brain a little bit. So I made them tonight. Really good, and that's just an easy weeknight. I mean, I got home at 6, and I was eating by 6:40, and I made enough for everybody. And I did all the prep when I got home. Nothing was done. So. I mean, if I could have, been home earlier or could have gotten some prep done, but it might have been even quicker. That's the power of beef. It makes it an easy but delicious weeknight meal. If you're looking for recipes, go to msbeef.org or just go ask Chad. He's got plenty of them. Beef, it's what's for dinner, thanks to our friends at the Mississippi Beef Council. College Corner, collegecornerstore.com. That's the place to find the maroon and white merchandise that you're looking for. You are looking for new gear. You need the new logos, the state script, the M over S, and, of course, the interlocking MSU. You can get them at College Corner, 2 locations to serve you in the Jackson area. Ridgeland by Fleet Feet, Flowed by the Half Shell, or you can shop online at collegecornerstore.com. Restaurant Tyler, Starkville's flagship restaurant for lunch, dinner, or Sunday brunch, the best meal in town. Always going to be over at Restaurant Tyler. If you want to enjoy a fantastic dinner tonight, the place to go is Restaurant Tyler. I just got a really funny tweet there. I'll let you know what it is in a second. The place to go is Restaurant Tyler. They have the best steaks, best pasta dishes, great chicken, vegetarian options, fantastic appetizers, and, of course, for dessert, the stuffed pancake is the best way to end a meal in the city of Starkville. What a great menu. Always some good dinner specials working as well. If you want to enjoy a fantastic meal, if you want to have a special occasion, you don't need one. You can just have one when you go to Restaurant Tyler. Priority One Bank, 16 locations to serve you throughout central Mississippi. Let PriorityOneBank.com be your guide and show you not only where you're located, they're going to show you how they can help you invest, manage your money, and prepare for the future. Now more than ever, you have questions about your money, you need answers. You need them on your schedule. You need to deal with a bank that's going to give you service that you deserve. That's Priority One Bank. If you live in central Mississippi, you live near a Priority One Bank location. Let Priority One Bank make you their priority. The tweet from our friend Morgan Rhett Johnson, is it irrigation troubleshooting season yet?
Yes.
It's always a good season to troubleshoot irrigation problems, and thankfully here at Mississippi State we have the best at it. There's only one way to describe it with what happened tonight in Baton Rouge. Mississippi State blew it. Yes. They had the lead, they were in control of the game, and they completely gave it away. And then once they lost the lead, they just kind of went away. Everything they were doing in the early innings, it worked. They stopped doing it. LSU brought in a reliever who just had State eating out of the palm of his hand. State couldn't get on base. And at the end of the day, a 6-2 lead becomes an 8-6 defeat, a chance to get the opening game of a series and then throw your ace tomorrow night. A real opportunity to win this series. What gets away from Mississippi State. They were so good in the early going. 6-2, 4 home runs. They look like they're moving right along. And then what happened?
Mississippi State happened.
Yeah.
The Chris Lemonis's team happened. This is Mississippi State baseball at this point, Brian. If you look at every single loss this team has had this year, you can point to these self-inflicted wounds.
Yeah.
And this one perfectly exemplified it. I thought the approach at the plate that they had for the first 5 innings was as good as it's been all year long.
Yeah.
You probably could have had a better start because there were some opportunities in the early innings for even more, but I couldn't have told you of a better offensive start than what Mississippi State did against Cade Anderson. Mm-hmm. You had 5 runs off of him, and you were able to manufacture some really good at-bats. You got a run every single inning. You chased him before he got through that 5th inning. So this was his quickest exit of the season, fewest strikeouts of the season, second most hits, most home runs. You could not have scripted a better game plan for Mississippi State and execution. But Mississippi State defensively and on the mound would not be deterred. They found a way. We have an error with 2 outs. Should have been out of the inning. Error opens the door for a run, their first run that they get on a double steal that if Dylan Cup just tags the guy going into second base, the inning's over. Instead, he goes home. He's called out at home, and then they reverse it. Just tag the guy. He was 2 feet in front of him. So that was a miscue. And then you had, after the 6-2 lead, Ryan McPherson walks the first 2 batters. That almost always kills you. Mm-hmm. And it indeed killed Mississippi State because right away you give up a 3-run home run. Then you give up another big home run, and all of a sudden the game slipped on its head, and Mississippi State could never get it back.
How surprising for you was it that Parker, after the 2 walks, never mind making a change, doesn't even go out to speak to the pitcher and just try to settle him down a little bit. And then after he gives up the 3-run home run, you go to an even more unproven freshman in Dane Burns to try to hold it down, and he immediately gives up base hit home run, and now you're losing the game. You know, we've talked so much about Parker and all the good things he did last year. This has not been his finest hour these past few weeks for Mississippi State.
Well, and I think part of that is last year he was dealing with some guys in those moments that could kind of work out of it because they'd been through it before, or at least had pitched in college for a while. Now you're asking true freshmen to do the same things that those guys were doing last year. And I think Ryan McPherson's been really good this year. I think we've seen a couple of good games from Dane Burns, but this isn't midweek against Jackson State. This is at Alex Box Stadium against a team that is arguably the best offense in the SEC. And I thought McPherson did a really good job getting out of it.
His first inning was great.
Prior, and maybe Justin Parker's thinking was he can handle it. He just got out of it. I don't know. But right there, you have to go talk to your pitcher. You have to go talk to him and try to settle things down. And I don't like bringing Dane Burns in that situation. I understand the matchup or whatever. I think your best chance to get out of that, and I know he didn't do it a couple weeks ago, is Chase Hungate, because he is a ground ball inducer most of the time, and he is probably going to compete a little better. You feel like he can compete a little better in those situations because Dane Burns has just not been in those spots. And instead he went with Dane Burns, and you paid the price for it. And then Chase Hungate comes in and basically keeps you in the ball game. So it didn't work tonight. All the moves that this staff made tonight, and really a lot of the moves that they've made so far this year, are just not working.
And that's a sign, right? And we'll make that the sign. The sign is brought to you by our friends over at Pip Printing and Signs. Pit Printing and Signs know that when you have a business, you need to get the message of your business out there. You want to make the right moves. You need to have a printing company backing you up that knows how to take care of you, knows how to get your message out there, knows how to bring customers through the front door and keep them coming in. You need to deal with Pit Printing and Signs. 30 years of experience helping businesses just like yours. And of course, when you make a sale with Pit Printing and Signs, they're going to make a donation right back to the Bulldog Initiative in your business's name to make you a Bulldog Initiative business. Without you doing anything more than paying for the printing, you are already printing. That's a no-lose deal. You can't go wrong with Pit Printing and Signs. Call Cam Baker today at 601-499-5216. When you need printing, call Pip today. The sign is this: when you keep finding ways to lose, when you keep making the same mental errors and the same actual errors game after game, when it just feels like your team can't bounce back from any kind of adversity, that is on coaching. There's no getting around that fact. That is on coaching. And so for Mississippi State, to me, the most frustrating part of the thing is because you expect LSU to make a comeback, right? They're in Alex Box. They're a good team. They're not going to only score 2 runs against you. That's probably not going to happen, right? But you've been hitting the ball so well. Even at 7-6, I thought, okay, I texted you. I said, we're going to be up till midnight talking about this team because I thought this game was about to turn into something like, 13-12. I thought it was State was about to come back, answer them. And instead, the bats just went silent. And I just felt like this team, whatever they were doing, they got away from it. And, give credit to LSU and to Zach Cohen. He came in and was dominant. But I felt like State lost its patience at the plate. They were so patient early on with Anderson, working the count and fouling off pitches and making him work. And then they just started swinging freely, and it just didn't work out for them. And just, even in the end, like the last run LSU scores, what is it? It's a couple of pass balls or wild pitches. It's just the same script over and over again with this Mississippi State team. That is coaching. They've got to do something to break these habits and break these cycles right now.
And I don't know if that's going to happen. I mean, this is years of it. I mean, at what point? I mean, like we can't just keep saying it's going to happen or they need to do this and this. I think it like I said the other day, it just is what it is at this point. This is what Mississippi State is, and it was really frustrating. We've seen this from this team, not so much last year. I thought they had a couple of dogs on the team last year, but you look in the dugout and it's like, and when they come to the plate, when these situations are happening, they just look defeated. I mean, they look like they are beat in these situations. We haven't seen this team really, claw back whenever they have mistakes, claw back and take over a game. They looked that way for a little bit against Oklahoma last Saturday, and then they were never able to fully take over the ball game, and they kind of faltered late. This team is just it's just like those first 2 teams that followed the national championship team. They are missing that edge. I don't know if it's a leadership thing or what, but they just don't have that same edge that they had with those College World Series teams. And even last year's team, at times, they really kind of fought through it and had a little bit of dog in them to go really clamp down a ball game. This team just doesn't – I just hadn't seen it. I see a team that when things are going poorly, they look dejected. And those last 4 innings offensively, they never looked like they were going to be able to do anything against Cowan. He just absolutely owned them. 7 strikeouts in the last 4 innings. I think they had one hit. I think that was the only base runner.
Yeah. Was that Ace Reese had the single?
Yeah. So it's just
and to give I don't want to hate on everybody. I thought Hunter Hines had a really good at bat. He struck out on a really good pitch. It was a pitch that if he had taken it, it was going to be strike 3 either way. But Hines had a good at bat, but it just didn't happen. I want to go through the last so the State gives away the lead in the 5th.
They scored every inning in the first 5 innings and then, got one base runner the rest of the way.
They go 1, 2, 3 in the 6th. Strikeout, ground out. They go single and then fielder's choice, strikeout, pop out. They go strikeout. He only threw 10 pitches in that inning, did Cowan.
Yeah.
And then the ninth.
That was really the killer inning. The bottom of the lineup,
Yeah,
not being able to extend the at bats or anything.
yeah, it was awful. And then strikeout, ground out to finish it up. So yeah, he retired. What? 12 of the 13 hitters he faced, and gave up one single. That's all he gave up. Meanwhile, Mississippi State, when they had the lead and bring in a reliever, they go walk, homer, single, homer, and then it's fielder's choice, out at home and then strike out to end the inning. But it just felt like it's just two different programs right now. It really is. Mississippi State and LSU are not on the same tier right now. They're not in the same level as each other, and that's true about Mississippi State and Tennessee, Texas, Oklahoma, probably Auburn and Alabama when those series come. Vanderbilt, Georgia. You look at Florida. Florida's 0-7, but I mean, I feel like they've gotten kind of unlucky. They've started off the year with Georgia and Tennessee, but now they're going to see. We'll see what they have with Ole Miss. Ole Miss, obviously, a lot better than we thought they were going to be. I mean, outside of Missouri, when I look at this schedule, I don't know where the wins are, and I keep coming back to this, but I'm going to keep coming back to it. It's just mathematics, right? State has to get to 14 wins to host, so that means they've got 23 games left. They need to go 13-10 in those games. If they lose tomorrow, it's 13-9. They get swept, it's 13-8. With seven series, they've got to win 6 of them. That's where we are. That's the math of getting never mind hosting. Never mind trying to host for the first time since 2021. Never mind that. Just to get into the postseason, you're going to have to win 6 of your next 7 series. That's where you are mathematically right now.
Yeah. Not looking good. Not looking good, Brian.
No.
I don't know. I mean, at this point, I don't know what to do. I don't know what they have to do. It's just that this program, this team, just is what it is at the current state, and I don't see it getting much better. So,
Other than that, Robbie, how was the play?
I'm just saying. I mean, what else is there to say at this point?
No, I mean, you're right. I mean, like I said, it's got nothing to do with personal feelings. I'm just looking at numbers right this second.
Yeah.
14-16 is a magic number. If you get 14 conference wins, you're going to be in the postseason. That's where State is. They got to get 13 wins in their remaining 23 games. It's going to be very tough to do that when you play LSU, when you play an Auburn team that's off to a great start. You're off to a red-hot Alabama team that's off to a great start, an Ole Miss team that is much better than we thought it was going to be. You still have to play Florida. They're going to start winning games at some point.
Oh, they'll be red-hot whenever they come in.
By the time they get to Starkville. I mean, you got to find these wins, and they're going to be tough. Oh, and by the way, you can't afford to lose any more midweek games. And that probably includes.
What's crazy is this team has kind of fixed that problem.
Yeah, they don't have bad losses, but they don't have any good wins.
That they're not losing to any bad teams, and they're losing to all the good teams.
Well, it's kind of what basketball was early on. The problem was basketball ended up losing to some bad teams. Not that it's hard to say Arkansas is a bad team when I think they're still winning in the Sweet 16 game right now.
Yeah, they're about to go to the Elite Eight. How about that?
About to go to the Elite Eight. So is that really a bad loss? You'd say no, but at the moment, in the moment, it was. The Texas and the Oklahoma losses were bad losses in the moment. But that's where Mississippi State baseball is. All they've played is good teams. It's like, when do they get to play a bad team? I don't know.
I mean, Missouri, they're at the end.
Play Missouri, but I mean, does South Carolina count? They haven't been great this year. Does Kentucky count? They haven't been great this year.
Beatable.
Those are winnable games, but gosh, you're going to have to sweep them at the rate.
Yeah, I mean,
you got to sweep those 3 series at the rate you're going right now.
That's kind of where you're at. I mean, it would probably have to turn out like that 18 season where you just got really hot late in the year. I think you beat Arkansas, who was number one.
Swept them.
You swept Arkansas. You swept Florida.
Mm-hmm.
Two like
three from Ole Miss, 3 or 4 really with the Governor's Cup. So
yeah, so it's going to have to be like that for Stadium. They're going to have to end like really, really strong.
Yeah,
because they're about to get off to a incredibly poor start. The weekend's not over.
Well, that's what hurts, Robbie. Is that
it's what hurts? Is like you win this game and it gives you so much freedom in the next 2 days,
and you're throwing your best guy against their best guy.
Yeah, you just lost Kate Anderson, who's their best starter. These next 2 guys are hittable, especially the guy on Saturday. But you're pitching Pico tomorrow. You feel like he's going to give you a competitive start. You feel like you should be able to get some offense. They just went through their best bullpen arm. They have one more really good one. This is a game you could have stolen. This is a game that you could have won. It feels a lot like that Friday night game against Florida last year and Arkansas. Both of those games, State couldn't get that they had an opportunity when they had knocked the starter out and they were leading in that ball game late and they couldn't finish it. And so that's the really frustrating thing about it. It almost worked to perfection in that you put Pico Khan here to Friday to face off against their number 2 starter with a win in your pocket and a chance to take the series on Friday. And then that puts a ton of pressure on LSU for Saturday. But now you're fighting uphill here. And, you need Pico to deliver a really good start tomorrow. And a win would be huge. But if you win that game, then you're looking back on Thursday. It's going to be a frustrating loss no matter what happens. If State somehow wins this series, you're going to look back at Thursday and say, my God, we could have swept LSU on the road.
Mm-hmm.
If they lose the series, then you're going to look at that with an opportunity to win. So it's just going to be frustrating all the way around.
Frustrating season thus far. We'll see if State can do anything tomorrow with Pico Khan on the mound. Let's move into our SEC spring preview. Guess who that's about?
Yeah.
Yeah, I know. Great timing.
That's love talking about LSU.
Yeah. That's brought to you by our friends over at Two Brothers Smoked Meats in the heart of the Cotton District, the place to find the smoked Southern soul food that you're looking for, or the older brother, the home of the fancy sandwich. If I were in an eat your feelings kind of mood right now, which I kind of am, thankfully those places are closed so I don't have to worry about doing that to myself. But if you are in a great mood and you want to have a great meal, the Cotton District is the place to go. Right there next to each other, Two Brothers Smoked Meats and the older brother. Whatever you're in the mood for, great Southern smoked soul food or a fancy sandwich, whichever one it is, head over there to the Cotton District and enjoy a meal at Two Brothers Smoked Meats and the older brother. Great products, great service. Every business likes to promise it to you. They deliver it to you at Advantage Business Systems. That's what they've been doing for 50 years.
50.
Oh. Well, if you need technology for your business, give Advantage Business Systems a call. And then if you need service, you talk to the same people who made you the sale. You have that relationship. It's the same phone number. It's not a new number. It's not a call center. It's not, all right, we'll be there a week to 10 days. It's something like that. It is quite simply one call, taken care of, it's done. 601-362-9192 or visit them online, absms.com. Find out how Advantage Business Systems will help your business do business. If you're looking for great Mississippi State gear here in the city of Starkville, nobody has a bigger or better selection of it than our friends over at Maroon & Co. Everything maroon and white under one roof. Nobody in Starkville has the service and the selection that you're going to get at Maroon & Co. And nobody else in Starkville has our promo code to save you some money. Thunder15 is the code. Save 15% off regular price items. Some exclusions will apply. For your next game here in Starkville, make sure you're making a trip over to Maroon & Co. Yes, the LSU Tigers are the focus of today's spring football preview. I spoke with our friend Wilson Alexander. Now, he and John, we used to have them on the podcast all the time because State played Kentucky and LSU every year. I miss those guys. Let's go to my conversation with Wilson now about an LSU team that is facing some interesting expectations here in 2025. It's our second straight interview here with somebody we had on the podcast a lot, but couldn't have them on last year because Mississippi State and LSU didn't hook up like we have in years past. Wilson Alexander from The Advocate down there in Baton Rouge back on with us to talk about the Tigers in the spring. I'll just get right to it. Year 4 of Brian Kelly, is this a make or break year for him?
In a lot of ways, it really is. sometimes when you say make or break, I feel like that means like, is he going to get fired at the end of the year? We're too far off to know like if that would happen. The buyout would be still $50 million at the end of next season. That's a lot of money that we're talking about there. But this is a lot of pressure building up around Brian Kelly. LSU has invested in this roster more than it has previously in the NIL era. Certainly, I think we're talking about more like tripling what it has spent on the roster between NIL money and revenue sharing coming. There, you've got a lot more funds available. And so when you have an investment, you want that investment to pay off, right? And so this is a big year for Brian Kelly to, at the very least, make the college football playoff. Just show that you're taking steps forward toward championship contention. Even if LSU does not win a title this year, he needs to show that he's moving this program in the right direction.
This is a really experienced roster when you look at it, especially in terms of what you expect from the starters. A lot of skill position guys back defensively. They bring back some big pieces. But it kind of starts with Garrett Nussmeier, who I thought last year showed you some flashes where he could have maybe been the best quarterback in the country. And then there were some games where you're like, what is that guy doing? And I guess that's, first-time starter. What would you expect? Year two as a starter now, should we expect him to take a more consistent jump forward?
We absolutely should. I mean, he, like you said, he threw for 4,000 yards last year. Like, he threw 29 touchdowns. He did some really good things. He made some throws like the one to beat Ole Miss at the end, or to tie Ole Miss, really, at the end of the fourth quarter, where you're like, wow, that's abnormal. Not a lot of people can do that. But then there was, during LSU's losing streak last year, just bad decision making. Too many interceptions and turnovers, had some fumbles in there too. That sort of contributed to LSU's spiral really in October and in November. And some of that you expect from a first-time starter. I don't think that it was completely abnormal, especially because of Garrett's play style, that would happen in his first year in this league starting at times. But now he does need to take that step forward. He needs to cut those interceptions. It's probably at least in half for LSU to be able to win the games that it needs to this year to make the playoff like we're talking about. And the other thing with it, though, with Garrett is that as a deep ball passer, I mean, LSU's main deep threat last year was going to be Chris Hilton. He got hurt. Hilton's back, and LSU's added a lot of speed, and that might help Garrett and the rest of this offense in the vertical passing game, which could really continue to open things up for him, because we saw kind of toward the end of the year that he really seemed to maybe turn a corner. It's hard to tell if you do that against what was a Oklahoma team and against Baylor, neither of which were like very good, not like great defensively, but still, it seemed like he maybe took a step forward once Chris Hilton came back. And if they're able to continue to improve that part of the offense, then Garrett really could take a step forward as a quarterback.
You kind of hit on it there with these new receivers, Nick Anderson and Barian Brown. These are two SEC-proven wide receivers. These guys have done it in this conference before. They should be able to do it at LSU. These guys should be big weapons for him this year, right?
Yes, they should be. At this point in the spring, it's still kind of like LSU's established players are the ones getting a lot of the first-team work, like Chris Hilton, Aaron Anderson, Xavier Thomas, former Mississippi State player as well. But Barian Brown is in that mix. Nick Anderson, we haven't seen a lot of this spring. Not really totally sure why. I mean, he's been out there. He's been getting some work in with like second team offense and such, but he seems maybe almost a little bit limited in some way. And yet that doesn't really, it's spring ball. So it's like by the preseason, yes, he is expected to be a huge piece of this offense. And I think really that's your top five when you're talking about LSU at receiver. And it shows that they've got some depth. They're going to be able to rotate guys in and out. And try to be able to find the best matchups, because they've got, I think, five for sure. And we'll see if anybody of their young players can kind of come on and add to that. That should be able to form a rotation in the SEC.
All right, man. I know LSU fans have got to be tired of waiting, because I am. Is this the year with Harold Perkins where he just becomes that dominant defensive player in this country? Because I know the talent is there, man, but gosh, injuries and everything else have kept this from happening.
Yeah, and a lot of it was kept it from happening too, right? Is LSU's inability to maybe put him in the right spot.
Yeah.
Is that going to be this year? Because now LSU is playing him at the star position. That's the plan. Obviously, Harold is still coming off that ACL, so we haven't seen him practice at all this spring, but he's expected to be cleared before their summer workouts. Give him about 2 months to ramp up going into the season. That star position is kind of similar to what he was doing in 2023 as a strong side linebacker. But how is LSU going to use that in Blake Baker's defense, right? With this kind of talent, somebody who you think theoretically should be able to blitz off the edge more often than LSU did last year with its star, who was Major Burns. So safety, that's a safety playing star. Now you've got a linebacker playing star.
Yeah.
So we'll see. Is this the year? I mean, everybody hopes so around here that it'll finally kind of all come together. This talent that Harold has, and this scheme and the defense, and Blake's aggressive, play calling there. Can that all finally come together? I mean, it's going to be huge for this team, and we'll see if it does. But it's going to be at that star position, which is a little bit different than what he's done in the past.
We've talked about some of the transfers. I want to ask you about a true freshman, DJ Pickett, at the cornerback position. 5-star kid. I mean, this is LSU, right? DBU. We talk about them all the time with these elite defensive backs. Is he the next guy in that lineage?
He looks like it. I mean, gosh, he looks the part. He's 6'4". He's put on a little bit of – he came in really, really skinny when we first saw him in bowl prep. He's bulked up a little bit during their offseason training program. And gosh, the physical tools are enticing, because like there was a play in one-on-ones a couple of days ago here where he got beat by Berrien Brown, who's really fast. The ball was underthrown just a little bit, but that's going to happen from time to time. But what DJ Pickett did was he closed on the play, made up for the lost ground early on in the route, and then batted the ball away because he's got such long arms. And he's just got some tools that you don't see everywhere. We'll see kind of over the course of the offseason if he's able to be a day one starter. There's some competition there at cornerback with Mansour Delane, Jakeem Jackson, Ashton Stamps, but DJ Pickett is certainly in that mix here as an early enrollee.
So it's become like this, almost like a meme with LSU in week one, right? With Brian Kelly. They can't get over the hump. And this year they got to travel to Clemson in week one. That's going to be the preseason ACC favorite. They bring back a ton. It looks like Dabo Swinney's finally making a move into modern day college football in the transfer portal. Well, what's week 2 going to be like at LSU if they're 0-1 again?
I was talking with some other reporters this morning actually about that exact topic, and it would be miserable in Baton Rouge if they are 0-1. And the thing about it is, like, at least from my point of view, I would be totally I think it's understandable if they're 0-1 going to Clemson with like the team that Clemson is bringing back, the experience that they're bringing back. It's not a game that I think they're going to be favored to win. And yet, even if they were to lose this game, it's going to be miserable around here. I think the only way it would be not completely dreadful is if it's like a close game, a battle deep into the fourth quarter, and they just, Clemson makes a play at the end type thing. But the problem is that LSU has really just not looked good in its openers under Kelly at all. And they continue to just look bad coming out of the gate, and particularly in a loss. Like it's not going to be fun around Baton Rouge.
What's the biggest question LSU needs to get answered this spring?
Who is going to start on the offensive line? You could also make an argument for safety, but it's offensive line for sure. I mean, they're replacing 4 starters. DJ Chester, who was their center and that 5th starter, he might not even be the center next year. He might slide over to guard. And so it's all about the offensive line. They've got these weapons. They've got Garrett Nussmeier back, but it doesn't do any good if you can't protect. And if you can't move people off the ball in the run game, which is something that LSU needs to do a lot better. So they're a long ways off from, I think, figuring out exactly who's going to be those starters against Clemson. They've got a lot of options. They've got some transfers who've come in. They've got some young players who were highly rated recruits. Now they've all got to come together to be able to rebuild that offensive line.
All right, we're asking everybody the same question for the last question of the interview. It's March 25th as we're sitting here. LSU Oklahoma is the final game of the regular season. If I talk to you the day after that game, what are we saying about this LSU team?
I think we're saying that they're a team that's in the playoff conversation. I don't know that they will, I'm just not I don't want to come out on a limb and say like, oh yeah, they're going to be in the playoff. But I think that this team is going to be better than they were last year. And I think that they are going to be firmly in the mix for one of those at-large spots going into, coming out of the regular season. And is that 9-3? Is that 10-2? We'll see. But I think that that's kind of where this team is. And I have a hard time seeing them be right from where we are right today, winning a national championship. But I think that they are going to be somebody who is potentially playing playoff games here in December. It's
so fascinating when you think about 10-2. Okay. But if they start 0-1, that means they can't lose again, but one more time. And so that's the difficulty of playing those kind of games, but it makes it fun. It's a great week 1 matchup for the Tigers. Are they going to do a Death Valley versus Death Valley thing? Surely they are. Right?
Oh, I'm sure. Oh, I mean, the fans will for months on end, I'm sure.
It's got to be if whoever loses can't have it marketed for a year or something, right? It's got to be.
Yeah, probably. Because, I mean, Clemson then comes to Baton Rouge a year later.
Right, and get it back.
And so it's like you can, like you said, like it can be like a year of ownership.
There you go. We'll see what happens.
Play for it again.
Wilson, always a pleasure to talk to you, man. I guess I'll talk to you again in 2026 between now and then. So have a good one, man. Wilson Alexander from The Advocate. Always a pleasure.
Thanks, Brian.
This is what I'm going to say about LSU, and you tell me if you agree or disagree. In a 4-team playoff world, LSU not going to the playoff, you can talk yourself out of it, right? You're like, all right, I mean, it's tough. You got to go 11-1 basically to get in. In a 12-team playoff world, there's no reason for LSU to be missing playoffs. And if they miss it again this year, I mean, it's a lot of money, but I feel like they'll find a way to pay it. I don't know if you can continue and I don't know who you go get. Do you throw $15 million a year at Kiffin? $15 million a year at Sarkisian? I don't know who the answer is for LSU. But
their last guy was Ed Orgeron.
Yeah, that to me is the biggest indictment of Kelly, though, is that their previous 3 coaches won national titles. Now Saban's the GOAT, but Miles was a buffoon, and so was Orgeron, and they both won national titles there. It's you can win national titles without a whole lot of effort at LSU. You just got to be able to recruit, and you have a state where you can literally tell a recruit on the day you're signing day. Yeah, we'll take you, and they'll flip if they're a Louisiana kid.
A first-round draft pick recruit.
Yes, a 5-star kid, a 4- and 5-star kid. You can call them that morning and say, "Yeah, we'll take you," and they'll come. And then you can also go into any other state and get their 4- and 5-star kids because you have what you have at LSU. They've massively underachieved the past couple of years. I mean, 2 years ago they had the Heisman Trophy winner, who, by the way, is obviously better than we even thought because he was so good in the pros this year. And they had 2 first-round wide receivers, and they lost 4 games. That's
Well, I think back to that 2011 team that had Zach Mettenberger, who was a
OBJ and
OBJ and Jarvis Landry.
Yeah,
and they had an NFL running back.
Yeah,
and I think that team lost 4 games.
Yeah, that's Les Miles there. So yeah,
so it's
they need to be back in the they need to be in the playoff this year. I really do believe that they need to find a way to be 9-3 at worst and be in the discussion. And even then, 9-3 might not get you in, but you need to at least be in the discussion. And
because I
think
be
0-1.
I think people already are just like, especially people in Louisiana, like it's already a weird fit. Mm-hmm. We were talking about that when he was hired. Like it was just a really weird fit bringing Brian Kelly into LSU,
mm-hmm.
and it just. To me, it just kind of didn't make a lot of sense. And if he doesn't win this year, they will be calling for his head.
You know what's going to kill him?
They already look at him as kind of a fake, a phony kind of guy, like his personality and stuff. Yeah. And, he was
– the whole pounding the table thing that he did. And
they actually –
family and –
they actually finally started really investing in the transfer portal. So they really have no excuse this year because they're bringing back a lot of talent.
Mm-hmm.
And they went out and got some different things in the portal.
But as I talked about with Wilson there, week 1, they're at Clemson. So once again, it looks like Brian Kelly's probably going to start the season off 0-1. And then the pressure is just going to be outrageous at LSU. Outrageous pressure. Because at that point, if we say, you need to be 10-2 to get in the playoff, you can only lose one more time. And you got to play Alabama. And you got to play Ole Miss.
That's the thing about this league, man. Like you can have a great team and it doesn't matter.
Yeah. All right. Next week, help me do the math here. So LM, so Missouri for sure. And then do I call them Mississippi or do I call them Ole Miss? Because if it's Mississippi, they'll be next. Or if it's Ole Miss, I'll get Oklahoma next. Which one do you want to do?
On how big of a Jackie Sherrill fan you are.
I love Jackie Sherrill.
Well, I think you got to go with Mississippi then.
How mad are they going to get it? Because I don't know if you've noticed when I do the graphics for these, I'll put LSU spring preview on the bottom. How mad will I get a phone call if I put Mississippi spring preview?
Yes, somebody will be upset about it.
I'll get a call from Will East. He'll be like, can we change
it? You know what?
He won't even call. He'll just change it.
That makes me mad. Like I can't stand when people call them Mississippi.
Why?
I've always hated that. Like, I think it was when Mark Jones started doing it, and he was going out of his way not to call him Ole Miss.
Well, yeah, but we know why that was. That was a political thing.
And
Jackie
like,
did it because he knew it pissed him off.
That always annoys me.
Oh.
And so, I mean, like, I get that side of it too, but I'm kind of at the point, like, they're Ole Miss. Call them Ole Miss.
T-Sun preview.
Nah, don't do that.
Don't do that.
Not until next year when Dan Mullen comes back to be head coach.
Don't get started on that. All right. We'll recap on Sunday what happens the rest of the way in this series. Next week, we'll have a couple of more spring previews. The transfer portal is about to start heating up. We didn't even talk about Michael Nwoko going into the portal. Won't be the last one from Mississippi State to come out, and probably won't be the last, and certainly won't be the last one to come in for Mississippi State from the transfer portal. We'll talk about that all next week. Guys, have a great weekend. We'll talk to you again soon. For Robbie Faulk, I'm Brian Hadad. Thanks for listening to Thunder and Lightning here on Super Talk Mississippi.